everybody, it's Rebecca, and it's been a minute. Hey guys, I'm back. It's been a while, but I'm back. It's my like 6th anniversary on YouTube or something like that. Well, the first was, but it's close enough. And I've missed it, guys. I've missed you guys. I've missed sitting in front of this camera and just chatting and talking about books. So I figured, what better time than right now to come back. If you've noticed, I've also done a little bit of rebranding. I've gotten rid of the Why Mermaids name and just gone to who I actually am, which is Rebecca Lovato. And there's reasons for that, but basically it just boils down to, I think I've just outgrown it. Let's just go back to the basics here, which is also what I'm doing today, and I'm just going back to the basics of YouTube, at least for me, and doing a booktube video, because I missed it. I missed it. So that's what I'm doing. But before I get into today's content, I do want to give you a little bit of a heads up. If you've been following me for a while, thank you. First of all, thank you. Like seriously, thank you. But you'll have known that every year around this time, Caitlin at Book Chats and I do a Best Picture book tag where we like the nominees for Best Picture, we make questions that go along with it and answer them with books. Well, this year we're switching things up a little bit and we're doing a readathon rather than a tag. So keep an eye out for that. Details are still kind of in the works since the nominations haven't even been announced yet, so it's kind of hard to make topics on movies that haven't been announced. So anyway, the readathon is the first week of February. I do know that because that's right before the week of the Oscars, but I don't have the topics yet. So anyway, keep an eye right here on this channel for more information. Also, we have a Twitter. I'll put that link on here and you can follow us there as well for all the information. But back to today's content, back to why you're here, back to why you clicked on this video. It's my best books of 2019. I have 14 of them, and these are all 4.5 or 5-star ratings for me of the books that I've read. I read a total of 50 books. This is the top 14. So in the order in which I read them, I'm going to just present to you these 14 books. Not going to go into a whole lot of detail since this is just a quick top best books of the year type video, but if you want more information, let me know down in the comments. So first up was the very first book that I read this year, and it was Becoming by Michelle Obama. She's probably one of the most influential women in the entire world, and it was just really humbling and inspiring to read her story and her journey of how she became who she is. And as a woman, I found it incredibly enlightening and empowering and just very inspiring, and I loved it. It was a great way to start the year. Next up was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo the previous year, and so when this one came out, I was like, I gotta read it. It's amazing, and it was amazing, and I loved it, and I think they're making like a show of it or something, and I'm so excited because I just love like all things music industry anyway. It's just, it's good. It reminded me a lot of Fleetwood Mac. I listened to a lot of Fleetwood Mac after that book, and that was a great time. I might go back and redo that just because it was so good. Next up was probably my favorite book of the whole year, which was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This is an adult novel. It's one of the few, these three are some of the few adult novels I read this year. I read a lot of YA and a lot of contemporary, which is very weird for me. But anyway, so this one is an adult fiction, and I absolutely loved it. I wasn't really sure how I was gonna feel about it, if I was in the mood for it, but by the ending I was just hooked, and it just hit me in a lot of ways that I was not expecting, and so I think it's just stayed with me a lot this year, which is why it's probably the best book that I've read. Next up was my jump into YA after a little period of a break. Went to a bunch of conferences and workshops this year about teaching English and how to teach English to teenagers today, how structure of the English classroom is changing and all of this, but it inspired me in a lot of ways. So I read a lot of YA this year and a lot of YA contemporary so that I could connect with these kids and find suggestions of books to read and books for them to read. So I dove down that rabbit hole pretty hard this year, and one of my favorite ones was The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I did not really like Everything, which she released previously. I was skeptical going into this one, but I loved it. It was great. I also teach a unit on cultural identity and assimilation and the immigrant experience in America, and it stems from the Joy Luck Club. And so this was a great book for that I pull excerpts from anyway. Yes, there's insta-love and some problems with it, but I just don't care because it just made me feel good. And sometimes that's what you want. Is it any surprise that Dark Age by Pierce Brown made it onto this list? It's book 5 in the Red Rising saga now. It's expanded, the world is huge, it's like 760 pages, and like 5 narrators. Yeah, so of course it made this list, guys. Of course it made the list. Pierce Brown is a genius, and he's way too smart for me. But that's okay because I really enjoy reading it, even though he breaks my heart like every other turn of the page. I can't wait for book 6, but also very, very, very scared. Very scared. Next up was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, which is a novel told in verse, which I don't think I've ever read a novel in verse before. I think this might be my first. Anyway, I was very impressed and I really liked it. I mean, I'm a writer, so I can appreciate this like writer-teacher character that's there and how she likes to write poetry, and I was like, I feel you. I feel you. My next 4.5 5-star read was All American Boys by Jason Reynolds and Brendan Keeley. It was just amazing. I've never actually read Jason Reynolds before this book, which surprised me, and it will surprise all of you as well because like all English teachers love him for good reason, but I just never read anything by him before, and this year I read 3, and this was the first one. And it was amazing. And I really liked it. And then I couldn't wait to read more Jason Reynolds. So then the next one was Long Way Down, also by Jason Reynolds, told in verse about a boy who has to decide if he's going to take revenge on his brother's death. And it takes place in 60 seconds on an elevator. I was like, when I heard this premise, I was like, how do you write this book? How do you even write it? And it makes so much sense when you read it. It's amazing. I loved it. Every year when Ruth Ware releases a new book, I always buddy read it with Trina over at Between Chapters. We've been doing this for a couple years now, and so no surprise, The Turn of the Key made it to this list. She's one of my favorite authors and my favorite mystery thriller author, which I don't read a lot of, so I guess that's probably not saying a lot, but I consistently read her stuff, so that is saying a lot. And this was one of my top favorites of hers. This one and In a Dark, Dark Wood are probably my top 2. I liked this one. I liked that it had some ghost elements into it, some paranormal. It genuinely had me scared as I was reading it before bed, and that's a good sign. Also, it's why I don't read a lot of thrillers, because I don't like to be scared. But it had some good twists. Some of them I saw, some of them I didn't. And that's always a great mystery. I was really big into Teachergram this year, which is like teachers on Instagram, and so I actually got some pretty good book recommendations from them, one of which was The Astonishing Color of After by Emily XR Pan, and this was recommended by that awkward teacher, and I'll leave her Instagram below, and I think she's gonna start a booktube this year, so everyone should go and like cheer her on and be like, woo, booktube! But anyway, she talked about this book earlier this year, so I was like, it's available from the library, I'm gonna read it. So I did, and it was amazing. And I loved it. Also dealt with cultural identity themes and ghosts. Apparently I liked ghosts around this time of the year. But it also had some magical realism and some very beautiful prose. And I just really liked this idea of memory and family and kind of coming to grips with that, and I just really appreciated it and really liked it, and it was beautiful. Also, getting books off of Bookstagram, Instagram, Teachergram, whatever it's called. I've read The Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Ribay. I hadn't even heard of this one. I've also been out of the loop lately, so that's probably why I haven't heard of most of these. But I saw this one on there. It sounded amazing. I checked it out. It was amazing. Also cultural identity. Also taught me about the Filipino war on drugs, which I didn't even know about because I'm a terrible person and don't keep up with the news. That one was really good. I recommend it highly. Also, I recommend all of these highly. That's why they're my top 14 books of the year. Yo, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I went a little heavy after that. Not that any of these were really that light, but I went super heavy and I read Parkland, Birth of a Movement by Dave Cullen after that. This is the same guy who wrote Columbine all those years ago, and this one was about Parkland, which was the shooting in 2016. Unlike Columbine, which focused on the killers and the reasons and the shooting itself, this one focused on the aftermath and what those kids did in the wake of that tragedy. And I was really inspired by it. As a high school English teacher, this is something that I have to think about every day when I go into work, and so reading it hit really, really, really hard, but it hits all of us. And I cried when I read it, but I was also really, really impacted and inspired, and it reminded me that there is good in this world if we only just open our eyes and can see it. The next one was The Grace Year by Kim Liggett, which was also recommended by that awkward teacher earlier this year. And guys, I love dystopian novels. Like, I love them. I've read a lot of them over the years. Grace Year is dystopian, guys. It's like everything I've been wanting since the Hunger Games ended. Because after the Hunger Games, we had a whole slew of really bad dystopians that came out. And I was like, meh, nothing really compares. This compares. This is amazing, and what I've wanted in my little dystopian heart. It was great. I loved it. If you like Handmaid's Tale, Hunger Games, or Lord of the Flies, you would like The Grace Year. It stuck with me. It really like rooted itself into my little heart. And I couldn't stop thinking about it for like 3 days. My kids were laughing at me the next day because I was like, guys, you have to read this book. And then like 4 of them were like, can I read it, please? And I was like, I only have 1 copy, but yes. It's good. I'm gonna stop gushing now and move on to my last book that I read, and also of this list today. And it's The Wicked and the Divine series. It's comics, graphic novel series. I'm just gonna lump them all into this. I read the entire thing in like a week, and that's only because I had to wait to get some issues from the library, like actual library, because anyway, it doesn't matter. I read the whole thing very fast because I was trying to meet my goal of 50 books, and I was like, I'll read graphic novels. I had no idea what to expect, and I don't know why I waited so long, because it's gods as rock stars. Rock stars as gods. It's fantasy. It's magical realism. It's like satire in a way, and it was just, I loved it, guys. The series overall, I would probably say is a 4.5 for me. There were some issues that I was like, meh, but then there were some that I was like, my mind is blown. I can't take it anymore. And I just absolutely loved it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I still can't stop thinking about it. There's not enough space in my head for all the books that I can't stop thinking about, but this is the most recent one. If you haven't read it, if you like those things, go read it. You can get it on Hoopla, which is where I read it. And then I went and bought some of the issues because I wanted to read them again and have them forever. If you have more issues that you want to donate, please. Anyway, I'm done. So those are my top books of 2019. I can't believe we're in 2020 already. It's crazy. I can't do it. Anyway, let me know down in the comments some of your favorite books from the last year that you have read, or your least favorite. Tell me what to shy away from. And if you read any of these, what you thought about them. And let's chat. Let's have a good old-fashioned comment discussion. Or you can come chat with me on Instagram or Twitter or wherever you want to, really. Also, I have a new blog. Whoa, I'm really busy this year. I'm doing things. I'm working on things. Anyway, it's RebeccaLovato.com. Super simple. I'll put a link. Go check it out. You can read my writings and my ramblings and all the things, and we can chat there too. Anyway, I hope you are doing well. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Happy New Year. It's good to see your faces again. That's it for me today. I will see you next time.